you know, to be in that situation, whether it was something we could have done about it or not, you know, I mean, it was, you know, are there things that I would do differently? Sure, I've learned a lot from it. You know, complacency was certainly played a huge role in that. You know, I had done this before. We've trained and I've been in these types of situations many times before. In a way, it's another fire. I mean, this is what we train to do. This is what we're doing, and to get lost like that, to get disoriented like that, to find ourselves in that situation where we're counting life between seconds. I was unbelievable to me, and I couldn't believe, you know, that I had put us all in that situation. It was hard to. It was really hard to, especially, you know, that few days later when I saw that picture, and I was like, I can't believe I did that to them. You know?
But you guys are the example, exactly what you said. You guys are the example as to why never to let down on your training.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the chief asked me, and I told him that next day. I think that training put us there, and training got us out of the situation. It got us in the situation. We feel confident in our training. We feel like we can go and do the job that we're supposed to do every day, and we've got the right tools, we've got the right training to do it. So that kind of put us there in the first place, you know, that confidence of like, hey, we can do this. And then, yeah, I mean, it got us out. It kept us calm, it kept us collected, it kept our thoughts together. You know, our communication inside the building, we didn't have to sit there and talk about, hey, this is getting bad. We both knew that conditions were bad, conditions were deteriorating. We knew we had to find a way out. We knew we were both in trouble. You know, we never lost, you know, kind of contact with each other. Our crew integrity was outstanding. So all of those things definitely are you know, those are the things we train on every single day. That's what we do all the time. So got us in there, got us out of there. That's great. I'm glad that we can be a success story in that. I mean, there's so many firefighters that are severely injured and that lose their lives every year in the same situation that we were in. Not because we were any better than them, we were luckier than them, but that we are the success story. And moving forward, I really sincerely hope that someday, somewhere, somebody hears this story, that I can sit down with someone and look them in the eyes and be like, you know, hey, you're a new officer, listen to me. You know, don't kill your guys. Sorry, I don't want to be that guy, but all of these people, when they come to work, they've got kids, families. I don't want to do something that's gonna, sorry.
In fact, you teach May Day at the Academy.
I teach for the office program at the Academy, yeah.
How will you take what you went through and incorporate it into that?
I mean, I think a large amount of what the officers do in that program, all the officers that teach in that program, there's a terrific group of fire officers that teach at the Academy, that teach in the fire officer program in the Academy, that teach in the entire Academy. You know, it's second to none, you know, in this country as far as fire academies go, as far as education goes for firefighters. But I think that what all of those fire officers bring to that is a real world experience, experiences that they have every day with their crews, that they can come back to new young officers or young, you know, inspiring officers and say, you know, hey, I'm not just reading from a textbook here. I'm telling you from what it's like to be a fire officer on the line somewhere. You know, this is how you handle, you know, incidents. This is how you handle your crews in the station. This is how you handle yourself every day. You know, that's what that's all about. That's how they build those programs off of, you know, these are officers that are working every day. And when you show up there and you've got, you know, a class full of, you know, guys that are looking for information, that's what they're looking for. They don't want you to sit around and read out of a textbook. They want to hear, you know, what your stories are. And if I tell it to 1,000 people and one person walks away, like, yeah, you know, some night they're standing in front of that building thinking, I remember that guy, I don't remember his name, but, you know, he one day talked about, then I guess it was worth it, I guess. Not to be, you know, not to sound cliche, but then I guess you know, that was worth it. And yeah, I mean, you want to talk about like pride in somebody. Let's talk about pride in your crew when you're standing there and there's still a lot of fire and there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's only 3 or 4 trucks there working. There's only, you know, 12 firefighters there working. And, you know, I'm looking at them going, do we go to rehab? Do we kind of sit the rest of this one out and regroup? Or do we kind of get ourselves, you know, I mean, we fell off the bike. Do we get back on? Or do we, you know, do we walk away and lick our wounds and come back a different day? And, you know, I don't know, you know, I've said this before, I don't know if I made the right decision, but I thought it was best for us to get back in the fight and talk about a group of outstanding people. I almost just injured one of them, killed one of them, and they still like, yeah, all right, Lieutenant, let's go back to work. And they went back to work, and they did a lot more work that night under, again, serious fire conditions, and were outstanding. To me, that's my hat's off to them, because I don't know if I would follow that guy back anywhere. I'm not going anywhere with him, you know. But they did. They're an amazing group of people. You know, people who do this job as a whole. I mean, they're just hardworking. They're tough. They're courageous. You know, I love the job. Love the people that do it.
That guy?
This guy right here.
How do you think it has changed you as a firefighter?
I think it's just brought home the fact of how important training is, and how, like Justin said, the next morning after we got off shift, I got to my car and I received a message from the chief. And he said, "How you doing?" And I said, "Good." And I said, you know, thank God for training. Thank God for how much training we do a day. Every day we're doing something, whether it be 20 minutes or an hour. And it just really hits home on how important training is, and how the everyday search, the everyday thing, it still can change, and you need to be ready for that. And how do I go from here? I make training a priority in my life, which I've already have, but I just make it even more priority.
It's no longer check, did the training.
It's no longer a check, yeah, it's huge. And I listen, and, you know, don't think, oh yeah, we've done this a couple times, you know, we've done this, you know, we've searched rooms 10 times. Well, this is gonna be the first time we do it, because I'm gonna see if I can pick up something new and learn something new.
Lieutenant, how has it changed you?
I would say that I look at, you know, the incidents that we've been to since that night, the fires we've been to. You know, I've changed a lot of the way I think about how I run an incident, how I task the people out on the crew. I think that as far as the skills, as far as the abilities, I think everyone's got, they're great at the job. They know the job. But I just, the way I'm approaching this, I'm approaching it with a little bit more, hey, what are we gonna do right now if somebody gets into trouble? What are we gonna do right now if someone calls a mayday? What are we gonna do right now to get those firefighters out of there if there is a mayday within the first 15 minutes of this incident, you know, within the first 10 or 15 minutes of this incident? You know, I'm a lot, I don't wanna say I've lost the aggression or being an aggressive, you know, an aggressive firefighter, but I'm certainly doing it with a lot more safety in mind, a lot more, you know, those guys right there, if they get in trouble, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna help them? You know, and even though, you know, like Scott said, training was very important to us all. We train a lot. I think that it brings some validity to that training. It brings some light to how important it actually is. And, we are a case study of that. We can say directly, yes, training has saved our lives, 100%.
I have to imagine a lot of your fellow firefighters, even from other departments, have to be looking at you as a prime example and saying to you, thank God you went through the training, I need to as well.
I hope so. I mean, I think if you're going to do this job, if you don't think you need to train, I don't think you should have to have a story like ours to feel compelled to come to work every day and be prepared. If not for yourselves, for the people that you're trying to protect and the people you're trying to save. I mean, that's what this job is. If you're not ready to do the job and you're not getting better at it every day, then you shouldn't be doing the job anyway. I hope it wouldn't take something like this to compel somebody to do that. But yes, I think sometimes when people, I know for me personally, if I was to sit down and listen to somebody tell a story like this, it would get me thinking. It would certainly I would certainly be thinking about the way that I approach that every day. I guess to a degree that makes it more real. Again, it's not sitting down, not reading it out of the textbook or looking at a PowerPoint. It's somebody actually sitting there telling a story. A lot of what we do, a lot of the trainings we do, we look at reports, we look at NIOSH reports, we look at near-miss reports, and we learn from that stuff. So, yeah.
And even just looking at fires around here, you see a fire happen in a neighboring town, and I mean, everything's on video nowadays. We will sit there and we'll look at it and we'll be like, all right, how would you approach this? How would you have done this? And I mean, you have guys on our group, we're varying in ages of years of experience. Some have been on for a while, some have only been on for a year or two. Everybody brings a component to that, and you can talk about it and figure out ways to do it. Like Justin said, you need to be ready all the time. You need to train all the time. You can't be complacent and, oh, well, if it happens, then I'll react. You need to be ready before you have to react. And that's why training is important, and that's why, we do it a ton. I remember being at the academy and having that instilled in my head, saying, you train like your life depends on it, because it's going to be you or you're going to be trying to save somebody. So you better be ready to do it. And it just holds true. And this is experience now that I can sit there and say they were right. This is why training's important, because it got us out and it saved us. So.
When you guys had jumped out of the window and jumped to safety on the roof, and you looked back, were you able to see the flashover happen, or had it already happened by the time you jumped?
I didn't look back at the window. Once we were out, I was trying to get both me and him off of the roof, because also at that point the fire was below us. It was in that building, so we didn't want to spend much time on that roof. And we went from disoriented, not knowing where we were, to now, okay, we're on top of a roof. How do we get off? We got to get off this way.
Potential collapse and.
Exactly, and so I never looked back. I think actually when I was having my bottle changed out, that's when I did look back and I saw that there was flames coming out of that room, and that's the one time where I looked back. But once we got out, I just wanted to make sure that he was safe, that I was safe, and that we were getting off that roof as fast as we could. So,
good rule of thumb: don't ever look back in life. It's probably a good rule. I did happen to see the window. Didn't really. Yeah, I saw the fire coming out of the window, but I didn't evaluate it as anything other than just fire coming out of the window. Like I said, it wasn't really until a few days later when I looked at the picture and really studied the picture of what I was looking at that it really hit me that, we just came out of that window, and that's, that was close.
You almost died in there.
Yeah, that we almost just were either critically injured or we lost our lives, yeah.